My name is Madhurima, and I'm very honored to be here. And being the first speaker, I think I have a lot of responsibility on my shoulder. So I hope I live up to it. So I'm going to talk about a very, very personal episode of my life, and it's a very short and crisp speech. So I hope I can keep you all engaged. And do stop me in the middle if you kind of have any questions, because it's a very informal speech. It's not like something that I've prepared, like it's not a speech, it's a very personal life thing that has happened with me. So as I stand here on stage, I'm thinking, how did I land here? As a kid, one of my biggest fear was to be in the spotlight. I have been petrified to be in the spotlight. All my life, I wanted to never stand on a stage and speak. And I want to go back about 25 years of my life. When I was in grade 4 or 5, I used to get this nightmare, I used to wake up, and my mom has told me many times that, I used to wake up crying. And this nightmare was that I've been made to stand in a stage, and as soon as I reach the dais, I freeze. I can't talk. I don't know how to talk. I completely shut down. I start crying. And somebody in the audience shouts, Maddie. People generally call me Maddie. Maddie, speak. And I don't know how to speak. I have completely shut down. And then everybody starts chanting, Maddie, speak. Why aren't you speaking? And I start crying. And my dream is broken. I have abruptly awakened up. And I'm crying, and my mom comes and says, what happened? And it used to be a recurring dream. It did not happen. It was always there. I was petrified of my being in the spotlight, to an extent that when I was growing up, I started avoiding going for family gatherings, because I had to introduce myself. And introducing yourself means you have to go ahead and talk. You have to it led to more conversations. So when I was in school, I was a good student, but I never raised my hands, because that meant I had to talk. And let me tell you more about how this, I have grown up with this fear of hating my voice. I hated my voice. I never liked my voice. I was petrified of my voice. I never liked any kind of people talking to me. So it kind of became that she's an introvert girl, she doesn't want to be kind of in the stage. She likes to be in herself. But that was, I think, an acquired. People who know me now, and there are some in the audience, they would say that, oh my God, she's so talkative. But as a kid, I grew up as somebody who had just one friend, and I still have just one friend from my school days and one friend from my college days. That's all. I never took part in stage theaters. I never took part in any dances. I never wanted to be on stage. And let me tell you more about this fear and how this became such a big fear, I want to ask all of you a question. Any of you out here don't like to listen, after you must have spoken in the mic, but after you hear yourself, you don't like it. Like, you don't like what you said. You don't like, anybody here who doesn't like? Okay, there are a few people. Okay, yeah. So there are, it's very common that it's that there's a cognitive dissonance between what you perceive and what you expect. So you must have perceived something that I would sound like this, but it's completely different. For me, it was way beyond that. I was petrified. I had a fear of my own voice. I never liked my own voice. And that kept aggravating. It didn't go down. And I'll tell you how this began. So why I'm telling this, because there are a lot of kids here, and there are a lot of parents here, and I want to tell everyone that, be very careful, because this can become a very, very difficult situation for a lot of people when they grow up, because people don't take this seriously. For me, I have felt it. So when I was in grade 3, I was selected for this elocution contest. And my mom had prepared me, I was very charged up, and my mom had made me learn a poem. And I was very happy. I learned it, and I went up on stage, and I narrated to the best of my capability. I was 8-9 years old. And I ran down from the stage, and the first person that you go to is generally your class teacher. So I ran to her, and she was like, I asked her, ma'am, how was my speech? She was like, is that your voice? I never knew your voice was so shrill. You never sounded like that. I went to my classmates, and they were like, why were you singing on stage? And I was like, okay. And there were a lot of people, they were saying that, why you're this say this word again. It is sounding so weird. Say this on the mic again. So it kept on, and it was not once. It kept on. There were some small things where even if I tried, people started making fun of it. And I know that some of them are my very good friends now, and they must have not even said it with the intent that it was really wrong, or they really wanted to hurt me. But mockingly also, if somebody said, "Na, say it again, na, I like what you said. Why did you shout so much?" Small things. It kept on piling on my mind that my voice is very weird, and I should never be on stage. I should never be talking. I should never be in the spotlight. So that's better. That's how I am. And to the extent that when I went to Delhi, I am from a small town it's not a small town, it's called Jamshedpur in Jharkhand. And it's not a small town anymore. But when growing up, I'm from Jamshedpur. So when I came to Delhi for my further education, I was a good student. I got to one of the best colleges in Delhi. But whenever there was stage shows or something, I said, no, I can't do that. I can never go up on stage. And I was happy that way. I liked to be called introvert. Very, very happy to be called introvert. And life went on. Even when I started working, I realized that had become my personality. If somebody told me to present, I would comfortably pass it on to somebody. I'll do all the base work, but never kind of go up and say that, okay, I will present. So yeah, that was my character. I kind of enjoyed. I was happy with it, living my life. And many years later, my daughter was born. One day, I'd gone back to my hometown. And very briefly, my mom kind of knows about this fear. But over the years, she thought I've kind of given it up. So my daughter was 3 months old, and I remember she was not ready to sleep. So I told my mama that, "Ma, why don't you sing a lullaby for her when I used to sing when I was a kid, and maybe she'll fall asleep." And my mom was like, "Why are you saying that? Why aren't you singing?" I said, No, Mama, if I sing, she will never fall asleep. She cannot, if I sing, she'll wake up, And my mom, she was working at that point of time. She decides and tells me, "No, you are shrugging your own responsibilities. You're a grown-up, you're 30-year-old right now. You can't be doing this anymore. If you are like this, your daughter, I don't know what you'll make your daughter." And she just goes out of the house and she goes to her school. And I had no option, but with a 3-month-old, I start singing to her. And surprisingly, she fell asleep, And it went on and on. She used to like my voice. She used to respond to my voice. She used to smile when I used to talk to her. And it was so joyful, seeing that somebody she's accepting me just the way I am, and she's liking my voice. So that day, from that day, something happened within me. And I said that if I don't change now, I cannot make her the way I want her to be. I don't want her to grow up with any kind of fear. She should like her body. She should love herself. So when I started, and I have also I've been working since the time she was 6 months old. I am also a pharma professional, and I head one of the largest pharma companies. I head the corporate communications there. So when I went back to work, I started writing. Whenever I used to feel a little low, I used to start writing, and that's where I started writing under the alias name Tripping Mommy. Because, there were a lot of things that parents were challenged at that point of time. When I loved traveling also. So when I told my mother or my family members, extended family members, that I'm going to travel with my child, and they were like, "Oh, your kid is just 3 months old, you can't do this." There's certain conditioning that parents have, that you can't do this. And a lot of conditioning comes to somehow mothers. So I started writing about a lot of things that had affected me, my voice, under the alias name Tripping Mommy. At that point of time, my daughter's 8, and she really would have loved to be here in the audience. Right before coming, she fell sick. I was just telling them that we got a call from her school that she's down with fever and she couldn't join us here. And I would have loved, she was so excited. But anyways, so I decided to write about a lot of stuff that had affected my mind. And blogs were very popular. This is about 7-8 years back. I started writing blogs and never used my name, but used the name Tripping Mommy. And a lot of national dailies, including Times of India, Hindustan Times, published it. And so many mothers reached out to me, you are speaking my mind. So I was like, okay, this is not only me who's facing these kind of things. There are issues everywhere, and people, it's just that we are scared to kind of speak it out. So I kept writing under that alias name Tripping Mommy. And then COVID hit. and Instagram had started picking up. So I created a page called Tripping Mommy, where I just shared. I did not use my voice even then, because somewhere I was kind of, how can I put out my voice? So it was most pictures and write-ups, pictures and write-ups. One fine day during COVID, I don't know what happened. I just created a fun character. I was like, let me try something, what will happen? And I'll remove it. It was created in the mind. I was just sitting in the bedroom, and there was this fun character that I created called Bengali Pishima. I'm a Bengali. So, I created this character of how Bengali women would have reacted during situations, mimicking them. So old Bengali women, if they are put in some funny situation, how would they have reacted? So I created this Bengali Pishima character, and I did not change my voice. I spoke as I speak in my shrill voice, and I had that first video that I created. I was very sure that nobody would like it. I would have removed it by the next day, but anyway, I just kept it. And the video went viral. The first video that I created around as a character, Bengali Pishima, it went viral. And I was like, okay, this is my own voice, and people are liking my own voice. I don't have to do anything. This is insane. Of course, it attracted a lot of negative. If you put yourself into public forum, then there attracts a lot of negative comments, but that did not deter me. I put out a second video. So I also realized that I had progressed a lot in my self journey. If I could do that, even after getting negative comments, I had definitely kind of evolved as a human being. So that I created a couple of videos. Some did really well. People really liked my voice. I got, during COVID, there was so many people who used to reach out to me that, we want you to talk in this voice. Why don't you talk in this voice? This voice is so interesting. You actually sound like those South Calcutta aunties. I was like, okay, this is very interesting. Something that was such a big fear, as people are actually liking it. So I think social media, of course, it has its own share of perils. For me, it gave me a lot of high. And so from there, and I also started seeing that since I had gained a little bit of confidence and myself, of course, I'm still conscious. I'm standing here and my hands are still shaking. But I had gained some confidence. I was not where I was to where I reached. I think it was a lot of progress in my own self, and I think that is what is more important. So if somebody told me 10 years back to come here and speak, I would have never agreed. Never agreed. But today I am standing here. That itself is a huge success for me, because coming here and talking is something that I would have never thought doing. And so when I so even in my professional life, I started seeing a lot of progress, because I reached, of course, with age you kind of reach the top of the ladder, and when you are at the top, you have to kind of present. You can't shrug your responsibilities. So like I told you in the earlier part, that I never used to like giving presentations. I would prefer that my team member gives, but I won't give. But I started, after that video episode, even my corporate world, I started seeing. So I had started accepting the way I am. The reason I did not ask any of you, is my voice sounding weird? Because if in a normal circumstance, if I would have started, I would have asked all of you, is my voice sounding weird today? But I'm not conscious about it. Of course I am, because I'm asking you now. But but I think I have kind of evolved. So that is what I want to talk about, and I think I wanted to bring this story to everyone, that it's very important to accept your flaws. Because I remember one more instance that I would like to talk about is, I went to an ENT specialist when I was in college, and I asked him, can you get my voice operated? I want a husky voice, and I want a voice like I would sound something very different. And he was like, are you mad? What are you talking? You have a normal voice. And he gave me some vocal exercises, and at that time I thought, oh, I'm in college, I can't afford it. No, that's why he made us such an excuse. When I start earning, I'll get myself operated, and I'll have a fancy voice, and I'll go and speak. Because I get very attracted to people who speak in the radio and people. So I used to find it very fancy. Oh my God, his voice is so good. So I still get attracted by people who have great voices. But yeah, this journey has been very rewarding. I have accepted myself, and before I wrap up this speech, I would like to tell all of you, especially the kids out here, guys, please accept your body. I was reading a note somewhere where it was said that 96% women specifically have issues with their bodies. And between the age group of 13 to 30, something or the other they don't like about their body, and it is there within. So all I would want to say, especially the kids here, guys, please accept your body. Everybody has flaws, but it is, it's a very difficult journey, but it's not impossible. It's very rewarding. Trust me, if you can like your body the way it is, you can like everything about your body, it's a very rewarding journey. So start loving your body, start accepting it. Go and face your fears. You may fail. I don't know if I've spoken well, I don't know if I've spoken how I have spoken, but I have accepted my fear. So therefore I started up. My biggest fear is to stand here on stage and talk amongst all of you. I think I've done it, so I'm feeling amazing. So yeah, so please accept your fears, please go ahead and fight it, start loving your body, accepting it, and that's it. Thank you so much.